Welcome friends to another Dune video. Today we are going to look at genetics in Frank Herberts' world, and more specifically what they carry within them, memories locked there. We will look at key examples of this underlying piece of law that support this and different groups that draw on it. Let's get straight into it. Now there are many examples of this in Dune, from the Bene and Geserit with their genetic memory, unlocking those from previous Reverend Mothers to the height of their program, the Haderach, who has the memories from both sides of his lines, the X and Y chromosomes, to Paul's children, the preborn, but this also applies to other groups such as the Tlelaxu, who have axolotl tanks, which amongst other things can create a copy of someone's body and have them revived with a part of their memory, which is where we will start. According to the Dune Messiah novel by Frank Herbert, the Gholas are made from dead flesh, and do not at this time have the memories of the person they are made from, apart from echoes of a past life. But the elf-looking race do have a theory that is proved when a Ghola of Duncan is sent to Paul to kill him, and when he confronts Paul, Duncan, or Hate as he is known, is able to break the commands and unlock his full memories. In other words, the trauma of playing would-be assassin against Paul and Atreides, who he has always been loyal to, unlocks his full memories, and this became a technique the Tlelaxu could employ with future Gholas, putting them through a type of trauma to awaken memories of their past self. So what does this tell us other than memory is stored in a person's genetics? Hate needed that trauma to awaken his abilities, and the Bene Gesserit go through another type of trauma, as did the Haderach, to awaken their ancestral memories, this being converting the water of life. So in the cases of those who enter the tanks of the Tlelaxu and the Bene Gesserit, before becoming Reverend Mothers in both cases, the memories are stored in their genetics, but cannot be accessed until a trauma, be it physical or mental, is experienced, to awaken and access the memories, and those memories can then access your genetics. The difference, of course, being memories of previous Reverend Mothers against those of your own, both previous Ghola lives. With the Fremen, this changes slightly, as the memories of Jessica, let's say from the original Dune novel, are added to by the Fremen Reverend Mother through the process of sharing. Based on what we know, essentially this would change or update the genetics of Jessica to add the Fremen Reverend Mother to where Jessica stores her memories, and then again the poison or trauma is used and Jessica must convert it to access these memories going back fully. And now let's add to this by looking at the preborn. The main examples here are, of course, Paul's children, Ganima and Leto. They have memories of their genetic ancestors, both male and female, debatably like Paul's Haderach. Paul and China are both mentioned in the memories of their children. Paul in Leto's and China in Ganima's, if memory serves, and I think this fits within the terms of what we have discussed above. The memories are passed on through the genetics, and perhaps due to the Atreides Haderach genetics, from both male and female sides for both. And as an example of a woman having access to a man's memories, we've of course drawn Alia, who was possessed by the Baron Harkonnen, which I think indicates that a woman can have a man's genetic memories. And for the way back part, ancestor memories, we use Leto, who even before he became God Emperor had memories as far back as ancient Egypt, where there was a personality that helped him and became an ally of his, so he is not overwhelmed by the memories of his ancestors as Alia was. The growth in the law we are looking at is from your own memories, such as with Duncan's Ghola, to the memories of your female line, perhaps with some add-ons when a Bene Gesserit shares, to your full ancestors going back as far as you can go for both sides. And now we return to the example of Duncan, Idaho. There is a quote from Chapter House Dune that is, Mentat demands flowed through Idaho's mind. He let the questions he had asked himself so many times move of themselves, forming their patterns. What did the Tlelaxu seek in one? They could not have included cells from all his Ghola selves for this incarnation, yet he had all the memories. What cosmic linkage accumulated all those lives in this one self? So I would guess the Tlelaxu must have taken from all the Duncan corpses to create these memories in certain Gholas, the total of the past Duncan, though I know only the Idaho Ghola from Heretics of Dune and Chapter House Dune is explicitly stated to have the memories of his original pre-Ghola life and the memories of any of his Ghola lives. So, this is not fully done in all cases, but when it is, memories are carried down from one to another, each adding their genetics like pieces of a jigsaw to get a total memory of your pre-Ghola lives. We see in the last two novels of the original Dune sequence, after Frank Herbert had passed and his son took over, that the Telexu revived many characters from earlier novels. Most of the cast from the original Dune novel, in fact, are brought back, and we see they have access to their full memories after undergoing mental trauma to unlock them, so the Telexu will go to great lengths to support their program clearly. For the bodies they could access, most would be dead but in reasonable condition, perhaps, if they can access them at first close to death, but they would not have been able to take a lot of DNA samples. Thus, by thinking that a small amount only would be needed for the Ghola, like taking a page of a book with a library hidden within its limited depths, this would be the same if the genetics were taken later, as there would be less perhaps to draw on, but there would still be enough to create a full memory from that person. So how much is needed for other memory? A very small genetic amount. So in Dune, even small amounts of our DNA carry all previous memory. One other question before we close this down. Does other memory record what we do as we go along? I guess it must do, changing itself in our genetics like a hidden recorder. And this would also indicate that at least as a record, living people, all people, have this in them. But it can only be accessed by the use of trauma, as we discussed earlier, or being pre-born. This is an endlessly fascinating subject to me, and I will return to it at some point. And there seems to be much debate around it, specifically online. But I enjoyed examining it here from the genetic perspective. Any comments to make? Disagree? Then let's talk and enlighten each other.